Hello friends, and welcome back to Mark Kelly Farm. As you know, we always look for new and different ways to do preservation here on the homestead, especially ones that work without electricity or anything like that, if we ever need to use them in a pinch. And we found a new one that we want to try, so stick around and we'll get into it. Now, to me, meat preservation has always been a huge thing for me, finding new and different ways to preserve meat. And we found a way to preserve it without any electricity or anything like that, and it's to make a product called Biltong. It's an air-dried meat, originates out of South Africa. It's a process that doesn't use anything extra, just what you have on hand most of the time. So we've got some beef that we want to do this to, so let's get started. We recently got this year's beef order, which we shared a video on that, and we had some cuts left over from last year that I want to do something with. So in that we had some sirloin steak. Now when choosing your beef for biltong, you want to make sure you cut it with the grain, and you want it to be about 3/4 to an inch thick to start with. And that's kind of what we've got here. We've trimmed it up pretty good. There's a couple little lines of sinew in here, but we'll get around that when we slice it in the final product. So we've got this to start with, so we need to jump in and get some salt. So to start that, we need to measure the weight of this meat, because we want 6% weight of salt, 6% of the total weight of meat. So we've got our scale, we put our bowl on, we zeroed it out, put our meat inside. We have 1,484 grams of meat. So I've been weighing things in grams a lot more as of late, because it's a unit of measure that's a lot easier to deal with than a lot of our traditional weights. It's a singular measure, it's always based on 100, so it's easy to figure out percentages and conversions and stuff like that. Try it for yourself. I think you'll find out it's a much easier thing to use. So 6% of 1,486 is 89 grams. We've zeroed out with our little bowl here. We're just going to go to 89. Scale is very handy to have in the kitchen as well, especially if you're doing baking. Oh, 90 is close enough. The salt we're using is coarse sea salt. We've got some of our meat here on a single layer. Coarse sea salt looks a little smaller than like rock salt. And then we're going to flip our meat over, do it again, and we'll layer some more meat on top. So we've got all our meat salted evenly. We're just going to lay it back in here in the bowl again. And we're going to let this sit for an hour and a half, and then we're going to come in here and move our meat around a little bit, kind of stir it up, and then set it for another hour and a half for a total of 3 hours. And then we'll show you what's next. Now, while this meat is resting in the salt, there's other things that we can do to prepare for the process on down the line. We're going to go ahead and mix our wet marinade, which is what we're going to need next after the salting process. We're going to start with 1/2 cup of red wine vinegar. And 1/2 cup of Who's Your Sister sauce. And then 1/4 cup of maple syrup or honey, whichever you like. Give that a little stir. Okay, we'll set that aside. We're going to start working on our dry spice rub mixture. So in a dry skillet, we want 1/2 cup of coriander seed, 1/4 cup of whole fennel, 2 teaspoons of crushed red pepper or chili flakes, or whatever pepper you like. We're going to put black pepper in it later. So now you want to put your pan on medium heat, and then we're going to toast all these spices until you start to smell the aroma. Just waking everything up. Once those spices become nice and fragrant, you got a good toast on them, you can turn the heat off, and then we're going to dump these into like a paper plate to cool. Now that our spice mix is cooling off, we want to add a full tablespoon of black peppercorns. You don't want to toast those. Alright, we just got done turning our meat in the salt mixture, and our spices are cooled off. So we've got a little spice grinder here. We're just going to use the paper plate to dump those in there. Can't do them all at once. And you don't want to take this really fine. You want to leave it kind of coarse. So just pulse it a few times till it looks good. So that's what it looks like. You want it to have some texture still. So we'll dump that in our bowl. That smells amazing. So we'll go ahead and do the rest of this. Get it all ready. Spice mixture is ready, so just got to wait for the meat now. Now the amount of salt in this recipe, that percentage, is the only hard, fast rule you need to follow along with the wet brine. The spices, you can do whatever you want, whatever your favorite flavor profile is. If you don't like one spice and you like another, you can switch it up as much as you want. Okay, our meat is ready for the next step. We took it out of the bowl. You want to brush off any salt crystals that are still on the outside. You don't want to wash it though. You can see how much liquid that we were able to already pull from the meat. So next thing we're going to do is I'm going to wash this bowl out, and then we're going to put our meat in our marinade that we mixed earlier. Okay, we're going to pour a little bit of our marinade into the bottom of the bowl there. Then we'll start layering our meat in there. And we'll add some more marinade. This vinegar and everything in the marinade is going to help preserve the meat, keep it from molding on the outside as we air dry it. You want to make sure that the meat gets rubbed with it on all sides. Even if it's not covering it completely, we're going to run our hands through here and rub over all that meat and make sure that marinade touches all that meat. And then we're going to come back and stir this around a couple times. So we're going to give this meat a stir. Make sure that marinade gets on all parts of our meat. And then we'll let this sit, and we'll come back in an hour and do the same thing. We'll like take everything off the bottom and put it on the top. And then after we do that twice, or 2 hours, we'll be ready to spice this meat and hang it. Alright, it's been 2 hours. We just took the meat out of the marinade now. We're just going to kind of pat it dry so it's not super wet. We'll flip it over and do the same thing. Now that the bulk of the moisture is off of it, we're going to start in with our spices. And we're just going to liberally put it on the outside of the meat. Some of it will fall off during handling and stuff like that, but that's okay. We'll do what we can to get as much as we can stuck to it. Alright, we gave it a flip. So now we're going to pat this in here really good. Get as much of the spice to stick as we can. Coriander has actually some microbial properties to it, so that also helps avoid spoilage. We're going to go around the edges of this meat also, picking up some of those spices. So we've got a spot down in here in our basement that we're going to hang it. We've got some little wires we're going to make hooks out of. So we bend one side of the hook like that to hang the meat, and then you want to bend the other side 90 degrees in the other direction. That way when your meat hangs, it's all hanging flat next to each other. So just hook the top of the meat in there like that, and then we just hang it on our little bar here. And you can see all the meat's kind of hanging sideways so we can get them closer together. So there's our biltong hanging. You need to be between 50 and 70 degrees when you're hanging this stuff. You don't want it too hot. The warmer it is, the quicker it will dry. It's good to have airflow. We already have a fan blowing down here most of the time to keep all of our winter produce dry, our pumpkins and our butternut squash. So it's a perfect environment to hang our biltong. Now you could hang this in a refrigerator as well, but it'll just take longer to dry out. But you just need enough airflow and just time to dry it out. So we'll check back with this stuff in 3 or 4 days. Usually takes about a week to dry it down to where it needs to be. We know we had 1,486 grams of meat when we started, so we want it to weigh exactly half of that when this is done. So we'll bring the scale down and weigh it every now and then to see what we got. And once we reach that point, we'll have a finished product and we'll show you. Well, it's only 2 days later. We're down about 50% on our weight. So this stuff is ready. Didn't take very long at all. All right, we're going to take a piece of our biltong. We're going to slice it up. You want to go against the grain, real thin. Looks beautiful. What it looks like. Let's have a taste. Really good flavor. Tastes a lot like salami. Great combination of flavors though. Very tasty. Got our nice little snack pack here full of biltong. Nice little high protein snack we can take with us on the go. We're going to take the rest of this and we're going to vacuum seal it in like pint-sized bags. And then we can keep this in the refrigerator for a good long time, but we're going to throw it in the freezer so it'll last even longer. And whenever we're going to be on the go and want a nice snack to take with us, we'll slice some up. Be good to go. There's our packages of Biltong. We're going to keep this one for eating currently. Throw these in the freezer. We vacuum seal them because I don't want them to get any drier. Now I like that flavor profile so well. I think I'm going to make some dry salami with those same flavors here pretty soon. If you don't know that process, we'll bring you along for that as well. It's really good stuff to make, like an Italian dry salami. But I think these flavors would be fantastic in that. So, well, folks, that's the process. I think it's something that we're going to do again in the future for, like I said, on-the-go snacks. That'll be fantastic. A lot of people compare this to beef jerky, but back in the day, people made beef jerky just like this. They just air dried it, but your only flavor was salt. They would just salt it down and dry it. This has a lot more flavors, and I don't think this is even in the same ballpark as beef jerky. Very enjoyable. I hope you enjoyed the process as much as I did. And we hope you come back and see us here at Mark Kelly Farm real soon. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy. Love you guys. Hope to see you soon. Can't stop eating this stuff.